Welcome. This week on Impact, the United Nations in Jamaica and the global financial meltdown. How will it respond and adapt to help you cope? Stay with us. Welcome back. Well, Friday, October 24 is United Nations Day. The world's most influential organization, the UN, came into being on October 24, 1945, in the wake of World War II. Over those 63 years, the UN has been the standard bearer of the international community of nations. According to the UN Charter, its purposes are to maintain international peace and security, to develop friendly relations among nations, to cooperate in solving international economic, social, cultural, and humanitarian problems, to promote respect for human rights and fundamental freedoms, to be a center for harmonizing the actions of nations in attaining these goals. Yet, many question its relevance in today's world, at a time when the entire global financial and economic architecture is unraveling and new centers of influence and power are emerging. There are growing calls for reform of the Bretton Woods framework. Bretton Woods gave rise to institutions such as the IMF and the World Bank. For the entire hour today, we'll examine the role and relevance of the UN today and how it's responding to the global crisis gripping the world. Naturally, we'll focus on how the UN is adapting its programs and policies to help a vulnerable Jamaica and its people. We'll begin with the United Nations representative in Jamaica. He is a resident coordinator of the UN system and resident representative of the UNDP, Mr. Pham, as well as the special representative of the World Bank, Mr. Badrul Haque. Welcome to Impact, gentlemen.
Thank you for inviting us.
Let me begin with Mr. Pham. The world is gripped by this global financial crisis. How is the UN responding?
I think we're very concerned about the convergence of the three crises, including the increase in food prices, fuel. If you compare to where the price of fuel was back in the late 90s and early 2000, and lately the whole financial meltdown, not only in the States, but with its contagious effect on Europe and in Asia as well. Our first concern is about the reversal of the social and economic gains that a large number of developing countries have achieved over the last 2 decades or so. And the crises as they stand right now might wipe out a lot of those gains achieved with some difficulty and with lots of sacrifice.
For example, poverty levels,
education, access to social services, investment infrastructure, things that form the foundation of growth and sustainable development in the future. Second point is, I think, the concern that we have that given the fact that the globalization of finance and banking over the last 10 years or so, a coordinated action is needed. And I think, we have seen, for example, last week, a coordinated movement by the G7, but that's only a first step. So a multilateral, a coordinated global approach to handle the issue of finance and banking is necessary. And the question is about addressing the confidence in the system, in the financial system of the world, but also to create the liquidity so that the machinery, the production, can go on. With specific to Jamaica, and if you look at the three aspects of the food, fuel, and finance, Jamaica is a net importer of all three.
Let's repeat those. Fuel, food, and finance.
So it's a net importer of capital, it's a net importer of food, and it's a net importer of energy. So Jamaica stands as a crossroads of this event. We are concerned in the same way that we are concerned at the global level, the kind of achievements that Jamaica has achieved over the last 2 decades might be wiped out or might diminish. We are concerned about the access of Jamaica to the international market, given the credit crunch, and also the cost of money. Access to capital will be more expensive, will be more difficult.
Let me bring in Badrul from the World Bank. The World Bank is a very powerful institution. How is it responding in terms of helping Jamaica and other emerging economies where the credit crunch is concerned?
We have, let me just go back a little bit and talk about some of the other crises as well. We have been at the forefront, together with the UN, the IMF, FAO, and other agencies. First, when we had the food crisis, we had established a facility of $1.2 billion to help countries cope with the crisis, particularly the low-income countries. So far, we have already disbursed or are in the process of approving some $885 million out of that facility. Beyond just providing resources to countries, the bank has been very active in discussing with the exporting countries that initially started to put export bans, which in itself fueled the price increases. You might recall initially rice prices was doubling or tripling within days. So we helped to try and stabilize price increases by talking with countries saying, putting export bans is not the way to do it. There are better ways to address the crisis we have. We have also quite advanced in discussion to try and set up a similar facility for energy, because just as on a year-to-year basis, in July, for example, utility prices increased by over 40% in Jamaica. This has been the case in many other countries as well. Everybody suffers, including the poor. And Minh referred to the danger of losing some of the gains we made over the last 2 decades. And one of our primary objectives, our motto is a world free of poverty. So we want to help countries preserve the gains they have made and in fact...
So let me ask you this. In terms of the fiscal crisis that Jamaica is facing, the government is in a bind. It needs $250 million US dollars to close the gap in the budget. Is that the kind of thing you would respond to? Or you are more programmatic?
Well, we do programmatic, but the good news is that the government recognized the need, and in fact, the reason why I'm here, because they decided to re-engage with the multilaterals in a much more systematic and deeper way than has been the case in the recent past. And so that's why I came here as the special representative to expand the dialogue with the country. I came here on 5th of July this year, so I'm still fairly new. And we have engaged with the government in a variety of areas. We've talked about energy. In fact, one of the first things that I did was at the request of the energy minister is to arrange a video conference on energy issues and what are the various options for the country. We've done a note for him, and we're waiting to hear from the government, and we might do an operation to try and address some of the energy needs here. We have branched into a variety of areas of doing business, for example. But more importantly, the government recognized that life cannot be as usual even without the financial crisis that you have now. And that's why they approached us when we had our Vice President come and visit here on January 29th. The Prime Minister was very clear. He wanted 3 things from the bank.